Welcome back. You're watching The Nation, and welcome to our political commentator Colin James in Wellington. Good morning, Colin. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Kia ora, Rachel.
So the local body elections, we just saw an interesting report on those, and they close next weekend. Some interesting dialogue, if you like, emerged this week. We're hearing talk of a new localism, if you like.
Yes, it's a more assertive local government body in response to about 3 years of belittling, really, from the central government, which is essentially called local government incompetent, profligate and obstructive. And it's done a whole lot of legislation and some more to come. It's set up the Environmental Protection Authority, taking some of the work off local councils. It's taken over the Canterbury Regional Council. This is the most centralising government there's been really since the 1930s. You might even go back to 1876 and the abolition of the provinces. And initially the reaction in local government was anger and frustration and annoyance. They felt they were being unfairly targeted by the government. And I might say the Productivity Commission report supported quite a lot of what the local government said. So what it's done is taken a number of initiatives, including this last week, teaming up with New Zealand Initiative to argue for a new localism. That is to say, move some of the powers and functions from central government to local government. And that's based on the German and Swiss experience. And so they're trying to get a debate going on that. So trying to be positive and assertive rather than defensive.
OK, I want to touch on the issue too, Colin, of housing that we've been discussing this morning. How much pressure is the government under on this issue?
Well, I think quite a lot, and I think that's demonstrated. You heard that long list of initiatives from Nick Smith, and that's in response to their recognition that housing is a big part of household finances. And household finances are really, in essence, the economy when it comes to elections. And Labor's basically on the polling. Labor's ahead on this issue at the moment. So we're getting quite a lot of response from the government on an issue where it feels that it is at risk electorally. It's not, and of course there's some good reasons for doing something about houses as well.
What do you make of some of the initiatives that the government has put forward?
Well, I think they're mostly at the margin rather than at the core. And so they haven't really impacted yet on public opinion. Public opinion probably has got more of an idea that the Labor Party wants to build a lot of houses as the government. But we have to wait and see just how well Nick Smith does in Auckland. His ambition is to get 5,000 consents by Christmas. And Nick does have a habit of trying to do things very fast, so who knows? It might start to work. It might start to turn around views on the positioning of the two major parties on housing.
We've also got this story that's been around all week in the headlines. Significant story, really, with the U.S. government shutting down. What impact could that have here, do you think?
Well, it comes back to the Reserve Bank position, because most of the argument in New Zealand has been that there's been too little supply of houses, and that, of course, is quite correct. If we had more houses, the houses would be less expensive and more people would own them. But there's also this international dimension, and Graham Wheeler, in his op-ed piece this past week, talked of easy credit. Not just the supply side, but easy credit. And that's the central banks around the world. These big northern central banks have been sloshing money out with their quantitative easing. And some of that's been fetching up here. And that makes Graham Wheeler's job quite difficult. Now, in addition, on top of that, you've got the madness in Washington at the moment and the worry of quite a lot of commentators, including Christine Lagarde, the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, worrying that this might generate another shock of the dimensions of the global financial crisis. Well, put all that together and put together the 2% increase in mortgage rates that is really projected by the Reserve Bank. It could be a bit risky right at the moment buying a house. House prices might go down, not up. And remember that in the United States, they did in fact go down by round about 40% in the global financial crisis. So it's a really interesting environment.
Indeed. All right, Colin James, thank you, as always.
Thank you.